I was just a teenager. It was a completely ordinary night. I remember the feeling of my soft, worn-out pajamas and the quiet hum of the house settling down for sleep. I was lying in my bed, staring up at the familiar patterns on my ceiling. My mind was drifting, caught somewhere between the day's homework and the dreams that were waiting. There was no warning, no strange sounds or flashing lights. It was just a calm, simple moment before everything changed in a way I could never have imagined. I was not sick, I was not in distress, I was just a young girl, about to fall asleep in the safety of her own room, completely unaware that my world was about to expand. Suddenly, I felt a gentle pulling sensation. It was not scary, just different. It felt like a soft vibration starting in my chest and spreading through my entire body. I remember thinking how strange it was, but I was not afraid. Then the feeling grew stronger, like a quiet lift. And just like that, I was no longer in my body. I was floating above it. I could see myself lying there, perfectly still in my bed. My hair was fanned out on the pillow, and my chest was rising and falling with each steady breath. The sight was so clear, so real that it took my breath away, even though I wasn't breathing. From my new vantage point near the ceiling, the world looked peaceful. The fear I thought I should feel was absent. Instead, a profound sense of calm washed over me. It was a peace I had never known before, a stillness that went beyond the quiet of the night. I saw the books stacked on my nightstand, the poster of my favorite band on the wall, and the moonlight streaming through the window casting long shadows on the floor. Everything was exactly as it should be, yet I was seeing it from a place I shouldn't be. The confusion was there, a quiet question humming in the back of my mind, but the overwhelming feeling was one of pure, undeniable peace. The experience felt like it lasted for an eternity and a single moment all at once. I had no sense of time. I simply existed in that space, an observer in my own life. I remember looking at my hands, which were not really hands but shimmering outlines of light, and feeling a deep sense of connection to everything in the room. It was as if I understood that the room, the house, and the world outside were all part of me, and I was part of them. The return was as gentle as the departure. A soft descent, a slight jolt, and I was back inside myself, my heart beating just a little faster than before. I opened my eyes, truly opened them this time, and stared at the ceiling, a changed person. In the morning, the world was exactly the same, but I was not. The sun came up, my family moved around downstairs, and the sounds of breakfast being made filled the air. But inside me, a quiet storm was raging. Was it a dream? It felt too real, too vivid to be just a dream. I could still feel the sensation of floating, the memory of seeing myself from above. The details were etched into my mind with perfect clarity. I went through the motions of my day, going to school and talking to friends, but a part of me was still up by the ceiling looking down and wondering what had happened to me. I tried to find words for it, but none seemed to fit. How could I explain it to anyone? If I told my parents, they would worry. They might think I was sick or that I was making things up for attention. If I told my friends, I was sure they would laugh. In a world of algebra tests and weekend plans, there was no room for stories about floating out of your own body. The fear of being misunderstood was greater than my need to share. I felt an immense pressure to be normal, to fit in, and what I had experienced was anything but normal. So I made a choice. I decided to lock the memory away. For years, that experience became my deepest secret. I pushed it down, burying it under layers of life. High school graduation, college, first jobs, and new relationships. Whenever the memory tried to surface, I would quickly push it back into the darkness. It was easier to pretend it never happened than to face the questions it raised. Who was I? What was this world? Were there parts of us that science and school didn't teach? These questions were too big for a teenager, and I thought too strange for an adult. The silence became a shield, protecting me from judgment and ridicule, but it also kept me from understanding a pivotal moment in my own life. Living with that secret was a quiet burden. It was like carrying a small, smooth stone in my pocket. Most of the time I forgot it was there, but every now and then my fingers would brush against it, and I would be reminded of its weight. It made me feel separate, different. While others talked about their hopes and fears, I held onto a mystery that I felt no one else could possibly comprehend. This silence shaped me, making me a keen observer of others, always listening, always watching, but rarely sharing the deepest parts of myself. The girl who floated stayed hidden, waiting for a day when it was safe to come out. Years turned into decades, Life became busy, filled with responsibilities and routines that left little room for contemplating the mysteries of the universe. The memory of that night was buried so deep that I barely thought of it anymore. It was a faded photograph from a past I no longer visited. Then, just a few weeks ago, on a quiet afternoon, everything came rushing back. I was watching a documentary. It was about deep-sea exploration, showing strange and beautiful creatures living in a world of total darkness and immense pressure. The narrator spoke about how much of our own planet remains a mystery, how little we truly know about the life that exists right here with us. That simple thought was the key. It unlocked the door I had kept sealed for so long. Hearing that there were still vast, undiscovered worlds right here on Earth made me realize that perhaps there were undiscovered worlds within us too. Suddenly, I was 16 again, floating peacefully near my bedroom ceiling. The memory returned not as a confusing dream but as a clear, profound event. The peace I felt, the sense of connection, it all came back with an incredible clarity. I paused the documentary and sat in the silence of my living room, letting the memory wash over me completely for the first time in my adult life. Revisiting the experience as an adult was completely different. The fear and confusion that had once surrounded the memory were gone. As a teenager, I lacked the context to understand what had happened. I had no framework, no words, and no one to talk to about it. But now, as a woman who has lived, loved, and learned, I could look at it with new eyes. I saw it not as something strange or frightening, but as a moment of profound spiritual awakening. It was a gift. It was a glimpse behind the curtain, a reminder that there is so much more to our existence than what we can see and touch in our everyday lives. The silence that had protected me for so long now felt like a cage I had built around myself. Why was I so afraid to talk about it? I realized that we are often taught to fear what we do not understand. We are encouraged to stick to the known, the practical, the provable. We dismiss experiences that don't fit into neat little boxes. As a result, we may all be walking around with our own secret stories, our own moments of wonder that we have locked away for fear of judgment. We are afraid to be seen as different, so we hide the very experiences that make us unique. Looking back, I understand why it is so difficult to share these kinds of personal, unexplainable moments. We live in a world that values facts and tangible proof. If you cannot measure something, it is often dismissed. Talking about an out-of-body experience can feel like you are inviting skepticism or even ridicule. People might think you are unstable, seeking attention, or simply delusional. This fear of not being believed is powerful. It can force us into a lonely silence where our most profound experiences remain unshared and unexplored. We learn to edit our own stories to make them more acceptable to others. But what if these experiences are not meant to be hidden? What if they are invitations to look deeper, to ask bigger questions? My journey with this memory has taught me that these moments are not here to scare us. They are here to wake us up. They are gentle nudges from the universe, reminding us that we are more than our bodies, more than our jobs, and more than our daily struggles. They open a door to a new way of seeing ourselves and the world. They suggest that there is a spiritual dimension to our lives that is just as real as the physical one. It is a part of our human experience that we have forgotten how to talk about. Today, on this day in 2025, I am finally ready to talk. I am no longer the scared teenager who hid her truth for fear of being different. I am a woman who understands that our differences are what connect us. Sharing my story is not about convincing anyone of what happened. It is about opening a space for conversation. It is about letting go of the fear and embracing the wonder. I feel a sense of liberation in finally giving voice to this long-held secret. It is like I have reclaimed a missing piece of myself, and in doing so, I feel more whole than ever before. And so I ask you, have you ever had an experience that you could not explain? A moment of magic, a strange coincidence, or a feeling of connection that went beyond the ordinary? Have you kept it hidden away, afraid of what others might think? If you have, I want you to know that you are not alone. Perhaps it is time for all of us to start opening those locked doors and sharing the stories we have kept in the quiet of our hearts. Because in sharing, we may find that our strange and beautiful experiences are the very things that bind us together. We just need to be brave enough to begin the conversation.